Danny DeVito has always said that everyone wants to feel accepted, make friends, and fit in. Growing up, he often felt different because of his height, standing only about 5 feet tall. Although he recently celebrated his 80th birthday, his journey has been filled with pain and hardship. His mother openly admitted years later that she never wanted another child, and his father became violent whenever he drank. Before Danny reached the age of 15, police had reportedly been called to their home 17 times. Yet those struggles were only part of his story. For decades, Danny quietly lived with a painful medical condition that made everyday life difficult. Despite receiving offers worth millions of dollars to undergo surgery and change his appearance, he refused every one of them, even rejecting a lucrative contract. Now, at the age of 80, more details about the challenges he has faced throughout his life are finally becoming public. Chapter 2. His Mother. Danny DeVito was born in Neptune, New Jersey, in 1944, and his life began under difficult circumstances. His mother, Julia, was already 40 years old and had raised several children. She later admitted that she had not wanted another baby, though she also said she eventually became incredibly proud of him. While such a confession could deeply hurt anyone, Danny used it as motivation instead of letting it define him. The feeling of rejection stayed with him throughout his childhood, quietly shaping the way he saw himself. Rather than allowing it to hold him back, he became determined to prove his worth. That determination would become one of the driving forces behind everything he achieved later in life. Chapter 3. His Father. Life at home was equally challenging. Danny's father, Daniel Sr., ran a candy shop in Asbury Park and was known as a friendly, hard-working man during the day. However, when alcohol took over in the evenings, his personality changed completely. He became angry, loud, and sometimes violent, creating an atmosphere of fear inside the family home. As a child, Danny learned to recognize the warning signs before trouble began. He listened for the sound of bottles and noticed the change in his father's footsteps. Sometimes he hid in closets, while other times he ran to nearby neighbors for safety. Between 1950 and 1955, police reportedly visited their home at least 17 times because of domestic disturbances. Those painful experiences left lasting emotional scars, but they also influenced the choices Danny made as an adult. He chose to stay sober throughout his life and later supported programs designed to help children growing up in troubled households. Through these efforts, thousands of young people received encouragement and guidance that he wished he had during his own childhood. By the age of 14, Danny realized he needed a different future. His neighborhood had become increasingly dangerous, with drugs spreading quickly and violence becoming common. 2 of his childhood friends died before reaching 16 years old. Determined to escape that environment, he worked small jobs, saved every dollar he could, and convinced his parish priest to speak with his parents about allowing him to attend a preparatory school. He carefully waited until his father was sober before asking permission to leave. His mother, perhaps carrying guilt over her earlier feelings, finally agreed. Looking back, that decision may have saved his life. Chapter 5. He Didn't Quit. Many of the children Danny grew up with never escaped the hardships of their neighborhood. Out of 12 close friends from that time, only 3 reached the age of 25 without ending up in prison or becoming addicted to drugs. Danny also faced another battle that few people knew about. He lived with a rare genetic bone disorder that limited his growth to about 4 feet 10 inches. The condition affected far more than his height. It caused ongoing pain in his hips, knees, and back, and throughout his 20s and 30s he often endured constant discomfort that ranged from moderate to severe. Even with that pain, he refused to give up. He performed many of his own stunts and even collapsed several times while filming One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, pretending it was simply part of the performance. Although doctors offered strong pain medication, he chose not to rely on it. Away from the spotlight, Danny quietly donated millions of dollars to support research and treatment for people living with bone disorders similar to his own. He never sought recognition or attached his name to those donations. His only goal was to help others experience less suffering than he had endured. Before stepping into the world of acting, Danny DeVito built a completely different career. He trained as a professional beautician, completing more than 1,500 hours of instruction and graduating near the top of his class. He later worked in his sister Angela's salon, Curl Up and Die, where his talent quickly earned him a loyal group of clients. His appointments were often booked months in advance, and he even received recognition for creating a hairstyle known as the Neptune twist. Although he originally entered beauty school hoping to meet girls, he developed a genuine passion for the profession and took his work seriously. Chapter 6. He had another job. Danny's path to Hollywood began unexpectedly. While styling a client's hair one day, he met her husband, who happened to be a theater producer. After watching Danny's personality and confidence, the producer encouraged him to audition for a play. That simple suggestion would completely change the direction of his life. At the time, Danny wasn't planning to become an actor. In 1962, he applied to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts because he wanted to study makeup. During the admissions process, the instructors asked him to perform a monologue even though he had no acting experience. He chose a scene from The Rainmaker and gave it everything he had. The audition surprised everyone, including Danny himself. Instead of offering him a place in the makeup program, the Academy invited him to study acting. Unsure about such a dramatic career change, he returned to the salon. A few days later, however, the school contacted him again with the offer of a partial scholarship. That second phone call convinced him to take the opportunity, setting him on the path toward an acting career. A few years later, Danny moved to New York City, where he shared a tiny apartment with Michael Douglas. The two young actors lived on a tight budget, struggling to pay their modest rent while dealing with poor living conditions, little heat, and very little money for food. Douglas rarely mentioned that his father was the famous actor Kirk Douglas, and both roommates spent countless days searching for auditions while trying to survive. At one point, they even used their last few dollars to print headshots and personally deliver them across the city in hopes of finding work. Although Michael Douglas began landing acting roles, Danny continued facing rejection after rejection. Even so, their friendship remained strong. Years later, when Douglas became involved in producing One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, he helped Danny secure an opportunity that would eventually transform his career. Chapter 7. He auditioned 248 times. The years before Danny's breakthrough were filled with disappointment. Between 1967 and 1970, he reportedly attended 248 auditions but landed only 3 small roles, earning less than $800 altogether. Finding regular acting work proved incredibly difficult, forcing him to accept almost any job that would help him pay his bills. To survive, Danny parked cars, worked as a store mannequin, cleaned animal cages at the Los Angeles Zoo, and practiced his acting by reading lines aloud, even to chimpanzees. During one difficult period, he lived in his Volkswagen Beetle, relied on YMCA facilities to shower, and visited soup kitchens for meals. For many years, he kept those hardships private. Hollywood executives frequently pressured him to change his appearance. Some encouraged him to undergo surgery to lengthen his legs, while others suggested altering his facial features. One studio reportedly offered him a contract worth nearly $1 million in today's value if he agreed to transform the way he looked. Danny refused. Instead of accepting the offer, he rejected the contract, determined to succeed without becoming someone else. His personal philosophy remained simple. He would rather build a career as the best version of himself than achieve success by pretending to be someone different. That belief guided him through years of setbacks and became one of the defining principles of his life. Despite continuing financial struggles, Danny never stopped pursuing his dream. His first off-Broadway production paid only $25 a week, so he worked overnight shifts at a printing press just to cover rent. He also battled periods of depression, nearly giving up on acting altogether. His first movie earned him only a little over $200, and filming in freezing water left him with pneumonia. To save money, he even slept in a barn during one production. In 1972, Danny's father became seriously ill, and work prevented him from spending much time back home. After his father's death, the loss deeply affected him. Feeling uncertain about his future, he applied for a job with the Postal Service and seriously considered leaving acting behind forever. Everything changed on the very day his postal job offer arrived. Before he could give up on his dream, the telephone rang with news of an audition for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. That unexpected opportunity became the turning point that launched his career. Chapter 8. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. The audition for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest marked the beginning of a completely new chapter in Danny's life. Years of poverty, rejection, and perseverance had prepared him for that single opportunity. His former roommate, Michael Douglas, was producing the film, and Danny already had experience playing the character Martini in an earlier stage production. Because of that background, he arrived at the audition fully prepared. Filmed inside a real mental hospital with actual patients appearing as extras, the production created an unusually authentic atmosphere. Danny's familiarity with the character and the powerful setting helped him deliver a memorable performance. Although his screen time was brief, the role introduced him to a much wider audience and opened the door to the remarkable career that followed.
Chapter 9. Milos Forman.
Danny appeared on screen for only a few minutes, but his performance left a lasting impression. Director Milos Forman supported him even when others preferred casting a more established name. After the film won 5 Academy Awards, Danny's career finally began gaining the recognition he had worked so hard to achieve. A few years later, he made another bold decision by turning down several film opportunities to audition for the television sitcom Taxi. Many people warned him that moving from movies to television would damage his career, but Danny trusted his instincts. After reading the script, he became convinced that he was the perfect person to bring Louis De Palma to life, a decision that would soon make him one of television's most unforgettable performers. Before Taxi changed his life, Danny DeVito had spent years hearing the same criticism. Casting directors repeatedly told him he was too short, looked too unusual, and simply didn't fit the image they wanted. Everything changed when he auditioned for the role of Louis De Palma. Instead of simply reading the script, he delivered a powerful 7-minute performance that impressed everyone in the room. Although ABC executives worried about his height, creator James L. Brooks believed in him so strongly that he threatened to walk away if Danny wasn't cast. Danny accepted the role without trying to negotiate a higher salary, even though his pay was about 40% lower than that of the other actors. It was a gamble that completely changed his future. After the show premiered, audiences immediately connected with his unforgettable character, and years of rejection were suddenly replaced with widespread recognition. Chapter 10. Taxi. Within just 8 episodes, Danny reportedly received more than 11,000 fan letters, an extraordinary achievement for a supporting television character. Louis De Palma wasn't kind or heroic. He was rude, selfish, sarcastic, and often unpleasant, yet viewers couldn't get enough of him. The character's outrageous behavior even generated several complaint letters after nearly every episode, but that controversy only made him more memorable. To prepare for many scenes, Danny quietly reflected on the people who had doubted or rejected him throughout his career. He transformed those emotions into the intense energy that made Louis feel so real on screen. The performance became iconic, and by 1980, most Americans reportedly recognized the character simply by hearing his voice or seeing his silhouette. Even Louis' dispatch booth became one of television's most recognizable sets. Chapter 11. Awards. Danny's remarkable performance eventually earned him major industry recognition. He won a Golden Globe in 1980, followed by an Emmy Award the following year. Many people were surprised because Louis De Palma was far from a traditional television hero. Instead of being lovable, he embraced his flaws, proving that audiences could become fascinated by deeply imperfect characters. When Danny finally accepted his Emmy after being overlooked during the show's first season, he delivered one of the shortest acceptance speeches in the ceremony's history. He simply thanked everyone, expressed how happy he was, and praised Taxi as the best show on television. The brief speech became almost as memorable as the award itself. His victories also changed opinions within the entertainment industry. Some voters had reportedly questioned whether a character as unpleasant as Louis deserved recognition, but Danny's success proved that outstanding performances matter more than whether a character is likable. His award-winning role helped reshape television by showing that complex, morally flawed characters could become audience favorites. Around the same time, NBC reportedly offered Danny an enormous salary to headline his own television series. The offer was more than 11 times what he was earning on Taxi, yet he turned it down. Rather than chasing a bigger paycheck, he chose to remain loyal to the cast and crew who had helped launch his career. During this exciting period, Danny's personal life changed as well when he met actress Rhea Perlman. Their first meeting happened unexpectedly after she visited to end a relationship with Danny's roommate. Instead, she and Danny spent hours talking and quickly formed a deep connection. Danny later said he knew within minutes that he wanted to spend his life with her. Not long afterward, Rhea joined Taxi, and many viewers assumed their natural chemistry came from great acting, unaware that they were already a couple in real life. The two moved into Danny's tiny apartment only weeks after meeting and married in 1982. Even while working together, They kept separate dressing rooms to avoid favoritism and maintained a highly professional relationship on set. Their partnership extended beyond acting. In 1983, while Taxi was still airing, they quietly founded Jersey Films. Working during evenings and weekends, they built the company together, laying the foundation for a production business that would eventually create some of Hollywood's most memorable films. Chapter 12. He made the jump to film. When Taxi ended in 1983, Danny successfully accomplished something many television stars struggled to do. He transitioned into a thriving film career. He immediately appeared in Terms of Endearment, a movie that went on to win the Academy Award for Best Picture. Soon afterward, he earned praise for his performance in Romancing the Stone, which became a major box office success. Danny continued building momentum by reuniting with Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner for The Jewel of the Nile, while also accepting smaller roles that kept him active in Hollywood. Every project strengthened his reputation as a talented and dependable performer. In 1986, he embraced a completely different type of character in Ruthless People, playing a selfish husband whose outrageous behavior became the heart of the comedy. The film became a commercial success, earning many times its production budget, while Danny's fearless performance received another Golden Globe nomination. His willingness to play deeply flawed characters demonstrated his versatility and opened the door to even greater opportunities in the years that followed.